Hello, and thank you for joining us for Changer Chats. I'm Grant Venable, Director of Change at Be the Change Volunteers. Today, we're joined by two very special guests, our dear friends, Chuck Walls and Micki McCabe Walls, founders of the McCabe Walls Family Foundation. Their foundation is dedicated to a broad and inspiring mission, supporting everything from animal welfare to education to empowering women in business and so much more. Recently, Chuck and Micki took generosity to a whole new level. They, along with 20 of their closest friends and family, went on a life-changing journey to Peru with Be the Change volunteers. Not only did the foundation sponsor a brand new classroom in Esperanza village, but they also funded the entire volunteer team. We are so incredibly grateful for their generosity. Chuck and Micki, welcome to Change Your Chats.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grant.
I'm so excited to have you. And something I want to do just at the beginning of this chat is let people know your story before BTCV. Usually on trips, we try to pull out of people what we call their changer story. And that's really their story as it pertains to service and education. Why is education important to you and why you choose to support education? So, if we could, let's just start with your stories. Tell us about yourselves. Tell us what inspired you to get educated and start the McCabe Walls Family Foundation. I think ladies first, Micki, tell us your story.
Uh-oh. Gosh, well, I excited to have joined a contingent of veterinarians here with Be the Change. That's pretty fun. I wanted to be a vet since I was very young, and then met Chuck in vet school. Got married halfway through, and we had a great career together. Him as a surgeon and me as an internal medicine and then integrative medicine practitioner. And I think throughout all that time, continuing our own education has always been a really, really important thing. I feel like I'm a lifelong learner. In particular, again, internal medicine leading to acupuncture and herbal medicine is a pretty big change, and integrating the two was a pretty exciting combination for me during my practice. And then it just gosh, I think we're curious people and we are adventuresome and we like to learn, we like to go places, and this was a great opportunity. And Chuck can speak to how he learned about Be the Change. I'll let him do that. So that's me, I think, in a nutshell.
All right, Chuck, what's your story,
Yeah,
brother?
yeah. Well, I grew up working on a horse ranch, so I was always around animals, especially horses, and was going into vet school to be a equine vet. And during that first year, after meeting Mickey, seeing how the small animal world worked, I switched over to small animal medicine and then saw the surgeons how cool they were, and then I went on to pursue a career in surgery. And that's after doing an internship residency, we started a practice. A large practice ended up being called Sage and Sage Centers. And through my surgical practice and the meetings and whatnot, I met a few friends, one of them being Jimmy Cook, which is great. We were more acquaintances than true friends, but I also had a couple of friends that knew Jimmy very well, one being Kurt Schultz, Dr. Kurt Schultz, and Dr. Ned Williams, and both of them spending a lot of time with them and had done these and were speaking about
And
going on
Brian.
these trips, and Brian Van Vechten. That's right.
Yeah.
And they had went on these trips and had been talking about them, and I'd reached out to Jimmy maybe 10, 12 years ago about doing one, and he was very welcoming, but time just didn't work out with our busy schedules to do it. So finally, when we retired a couple of years ago, I started to rethink about it, and after speaking with Dr. Peter Lodicus, who did the Peru in 2024, I reached out to him last June to say, "Heck, what was your experience?" He said it was just amazing, life-changing for he and his daughter, and that just got me thinking. I said, "Mick, do you want to go to Peru?" And she says, "Yeah, let's do it." And then we were in a big family reunion we have every year with our family. And I just thought, wow, wouldn't it be amazing to bring more people with us? And can we do that? And then reaching out to you, Grant, and saying, hey, what happens if would we be able to sponsor a trip? And I think you said, sure. I'd never had that request before, but if you can do it, but you need to know within a month. And so we developed a letter, reached out to about 20, 22 of our
We did
close
20 to start with.
20, yeah, 20 of our friends and family and kind of told them the story and the timeline. And I think within 1 to 2 weeks, we had our trip filled. So a couple of
Yeah.
things along the way, but that's kind of how it all started.
That is amazing. So, when the idea of taking a group of 20 of your closest friends and family to Peru first came up, what were some of your hopes and maybe even some of your hesitations about this endeavor that you were going out on?
Yeah, well, my ultimate hope was that we were going to not only transform the lives of the people in Esperanza, which we did not know, and at least help them have a better life through education, but also our friends and family, that it would really inspire them to do more as well. So I think we succeeded on both of those. We've got a lot of positive feedback from our family and friends. Um, and I think they're looking forward to doing more, having been exposed to that experience.
I mean, without a doubt, there was always a consideration of who can you travel with, who is a go with the flow kind of person. I love that part of I don't remember if it's a part of the rules or what, but I love the have a go with the flow attitude. Oh, it's a requirement. That was it. And the things to bring. And it's so important and so perfect because how are you ever going to know um, if everything is going to go exactly right or if there's going to be little changes here and there and I think that was important and we did our best I think to pick people that we thought um, would be a good connection together because there's a lot of people you can't focus
Yeah.
on one couple only, so I think it did work out and I think everybody seemed to have a really good experience.
Yeah, and it was nice that we were able to invite some new friends. One that we had just
Hmm.
a realtor that we had just met in Bend after buying a home up there, and within a couple of weeks we invited her, and
Hmm.
she jumped in to a lifelong friend of Mickey's, Danette and Dorielle Pearson Nelson, and to some of our close family who were able to make it. And
Hmm.
this that it we were hoping it was going to work out so well, and it worked out better than we anticipated.
Hmm.
Everyone was
Um,
just amazing on that trip. And because they're just amazing people. And Jimmy and Christy really helped foster that along with Dolly.
Hmm.
That really made it for everyone. So it wasn't on us. We didn't want to be the center of it. It wasn't about us at all. It was about be the change, and you guys took over, did everything. We were just participants, willing to help the process, and everyone I think kind of stepped up.
Hmm.
I love that you guys put so much thought into the people that you wanted to select for the reasons that you stated. One of the challenges that we can face as team leaders is we don't get to pick the 20 people that get off the plane and get on the bus and go down a dirt road with you for 10 days. And so I think it's just so cool that you had the opportunity to do that and to build your own team. I remember doing the pre-team Zoom call with y'all. And I just sat there and thought, man, this would be like the greatest block party ever. These people, they've known each other forever and they're close friends and they've all got great senses of humor. So I was a bit jealous that the cooks got to take you guys, but maybe in the future. What was the preparation like leading up to the trip? And talk a bit about, what you were unsure of, and then areas where you felt like BTCV supported you before you ever left the country. And really, this is for people who are considering going on a trip. So anything that you weren't sure about that BTCV had some expertise on to prepare travelers to go.
I would say anyone considering going, it was the easiest trip to plan for in that you guys did everything. I was really impressed with the level of detail, all the communications, the emails, the packing lists, the pre-trip lists, the stuff for taking flights and taking care of the flights. And you did it for us for 20 people from all over the country to all land at the same place, which was amazing. Uh, it was really quite easy on our part, besides filling out all the forms, which there are many forms to fill out with international travel. So, there's no hiccups along the way. Uh, it was a very easy process. And then having the communication, like the pre-trip one was fantastic, where we all got together and really kind of all met as a group for the first time. That got everybody excited, and then your follow-ups as we got closer, like whatever it was, 90 days or 60 days, and then it got closer. That got everybody excited. Um, Probably the biggest unknown, which we would do differently next time for me, was just packing clothes. It's just you just don't know what to expect, and so um, I definitely would pack a little bit differently next time. Realizing what your daily wear is, and you don't need much. Just a pair of shorts, some new clean socks every day would be good, and a new shirt, uh, and then something to wear in the evening. That would be my recommendation is talking more about what to bring, because it is a different environment. It is
Yeah.
wet, hot,
It's a
sweaty.
jungle.
It's a
In the
jungle.
jungle.
It's a
The
jungle out
jungle. What
there.
about you, Micki?
Oh, so I'm not an overthinker. Like I wait until I really need to know something to jump in and go, okay, what do I need to focus on here, like packing and stuff. So I'm not the person who's packed, months and months in advance or even really thinking too much about it. So what's nice about that is your Zoom meeting right before, what was a month before or whatever, really got my attention. And I was so thankful for it because just the little things like bringing inserts for the muck boots. Oh gosh, I'm trying to, and the socks, just like have tall socks because those muck boots are not that comfortable to be, having your sweaty calves on and whatever, to make it really glamorous sounding. But that particular talk was super helpful for me to very much take the time and really focus on what to bring. I actually think I did pretty well because being a horseback rider, I have certain sun shirts that don't go anywhere but to the barn because they already are a little bit stained and this and that. So I brought those, so I wasn't going to worry about ruining things. And of course, it's great that you guys provide the t-shirts because it's an immediate, obviously it's important, but it's also super helpful. And even just the information that you give on vaccinations and stuff like that ahead of the time. I think we had a little panic because I forgot that we had already asked, months ago, and like because we had other overthinkers in our group that they were getting me panicky about, oh, we need this and that. And like went back to the source. Okay, no, you don't for this particular trip. You don't need all these vaccines, which was great. That was such a nice thing
Yeah.
to not have to worry about. But yeah, I would say everything was very well handled ahead of time, so it made it easier on us. We had a couple of hiccups that I don't really know about, but that's going to happen anytime you travel. And one set of tickets out of 20 was a pretty it was just reservation issues that we never completely figured out, but I don't think that was anything anybody could have planned for, computer issue or something somewhere at Latam Airlines. But
Yes,
everybody
the
got,
airlines are a mystery to me today. And I've been
yeah,
doing this a while.
yeah, yeah.
Man, I love to hear all of that. And it's great for us to get that feedback so that we can think about how we can prepare travelers better for trips. Because one thing I always tell people is I want to be a resource for you. And so I would rather somebody ask me 50 questions twice than be unprepared. Because that's what we're here for. One of the things that we know y'all are doing is you're working hard to share your time, your talents, and your treasures. And so in our office, our time is in service to the volunteers. And so it's no problem for us to answer twice. And we know that for a lot of people, this is the first time they've left the country, maybe, or maybe the first time that they've traveled to an underdeveloped country. And so we want them to feel as at ease and at peace as they can with it. And then packing is always tough because if you sat me and my wife down and asked us what we're going to pack for a 2-hour airplane flight to Texas, Rachel's would be a sweatshirt and a blanket. Mine would be shorts and a t-shirt. And so it's just one of those things where we want to have conversations about it. And the more we can have conversations about it, the more we can prepare. So we try to always be prepared for that. So you guys get on a plane in the USA, you navigate some unforeseeable hoops. that come with international travel and really air travel today. You go to an underdeveloped location with a little stopover in Lima, Peru for a short break. Then you fly to the city of Iquitos, which I'm sure you learned is the largest city in the world with no roads to it. You either get there by plane or by boat, and it is on the Amazon River. I would love for you guys to share with future travelers your experience going from the Iquitos airport all the way to the River Lodge, just for people who haven't done this journey before.
Oh gosh, what are the little vehicles called that look like you're in India?
Rickshaws,
They
look like rickshaws, little.
I felt like I had landed in a very busy city in India, and the little tuk-tuks.
The three-wheel motorcycles, they look like
Yep.
tuk-tuks. Yeah.
Those are amazing, and the frenetic energy in the city. I mean, especially the fact that you can't get there from anywhere else by road. This is one intense, exciting city, not in a scary way, but
Yeah.
there's a lot going on, and it's generally on those little, I'll call them tuk-tuks because I can't remember if they have a name. I'm sure they do. That was pretty wild, very fascinating, and of course the buses that you would see people on. What are they? Are they wooden buses? Is that what I think that's what maybe Dolly called them?
Wood buses, yep. They're
Yeah.
basically an engine with wheels, a chassis, and wood.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Wood floors, wood walls,
It's
wood
kind of
roofs.
amazing.
Luckily, we weren't on that, which actually
No, right.
made it a little bit nicer and that a little more reliable from what we hear.
Yeah.
'Cause, those
You were a
things
little jealous that you weren't on the wood bus.
Yeah.
On the adventure.
But it was kind of neat to come in there. We had seen very little of Lima because we flew in late the night before and left, mid-morning the next
Right,
day.
just a little stopover. Yep.
Little stopover. And so, so Iquitos was kind of our first, foray into anywhere really in Peru, and we were only there a short time too. But and then to get to the office, the Amazonia Expeditions office. Wow, what an opportunity. You walk in, they handed us flags for Peru. I think it was Flag Day, if I remember correctly. And then, immediately give us food and just a nice welcome, really. And then a little bit of an orientation and then get on the boat. And I mean, that is one amazing river. Just never seen the Amazon before. It was a pretty amazing opportunity. So, and then, just settle in for a few hours.
Yeah, the boat ride was the Amazonia facilities are
Beautiful.
really nice. And Dolly and her team really we all felt perfectly taken care of and safe. There was no I don't know no instance at all that we did not feel safe on the whole trip.
Yeah.
And then getting on the boats, there were three of them, which were fun. They're little big boats or big little boats. We had I think 10 or 11 people on each boat, plus all our supplies, and there's three boats going. So you are in the water, you are in the Amazon, so to
Yeah.
speak, and coming around the next corner, you never know. And start out in a big city with some big ships and the freneticness of that, and then all of a sudden you're out in the Amazon jungle, Amazon River, which is a huge, amazingly huge river. I didn't, you really don't, I didn't have a concept of what it looked like until I saw it and just saw that it's miles across. And then as we're speeding along and watching a beautiful sunset, and then we took off into the little tributary, Toyo tributary for a couple of hours up, and then seeing some of the small villages. And then as we're about 2.5 hours up, we saw our village, Esperanza, and they're out, on the kids were waving at us as we sped past towards the lodge. Yeah, it was pretty magical. Everyone's eyes were huge and smiles, big smiles when we arrived at the lodge, and we ended up getting I think a little later start than probably
I
we
think
wanted
so.
to. And so we arrived at dusk, almost night, so the lodge was all lit up and there, and the boats got in and
Super welcoming.
super welcome.
The
Yeah,
purple
welcoming.
corn juice, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an amazing experience, and I love how you describe the Amazon River because there's no National Geographic video or photo that can do it justice. Being on it is just incredible, especially the first time.
Yeah.
So BTCV, we have community partners and we have school partners. The school partners are the schools that we work at. So the principal, the administration, even the Ministry of Education of the government. And then our community partner, in this case, is Dolly and Paul Beaver. They're the owners of Amazonia Expeditions and the founders of Angels of the Amazon, which is the nonprofit branch that serves the communities there. And so we work with them to schedule out a week that has both service work and cultural exchange. And so share a bit about just the first day arriving in Esperanza Village for the first time. Tell us any wow moments that you had early in the trip, but tell us about getting off the boat and walking into Esperanza Village.
Well, we got off the boat after, coming down from the lodge, about a 25-minute boat ride, which was really nice. And you get there and you pull up to make, a cement ramp going up into a little area where they do meetings, group meetings. It's
Kind of a community
covered,
center,
communities.
but it's open air, but covered. Yeah.
And
Yep.
then we're greeted by the community, the school children, the teachers, and some of the, as you say, some of the government officials who are all there local, and they welcomed us with some traditional songs and dances, and then they invited us to dance, and they invited us to dance again and again and again after about 3 hours of dancing. It was great. It was really, really fantastic. It really made us feel warm and welcome. And they did some speeches to tell us kind of who they were and what their hopes were for their village, which was great. And then after about that, we got to work. But everyone was very moved,
Mhm.
very, very moved.
I got asked to dance by one little boy 3 times. So I was the first person picked to dance. And then I went and sat down. And then he came back and picked me again. And then I sat down and he picked me again. And this little 7-year-old boy, his name is Overland, and he kind of adopted me for the week, which was really very special. In fact, I kept thinking, how am I going to figure out who was it that asked me to dance? And then he just, I don't know why, but we kind of connected. And um, um, he would just show up out of the blue at different times, and come hang out with me if I wasn't working, and or just come watch. And at one point during the week, I know this is jumping ahead, but after the library was set up, what a super cool experience. But he came and he wanted me to go into where the little library was, and we sat down and we picked one of the books that were new. And I'm, of course, my Spanish is not very good, but so I'm reading to him, and I would, he would correct my Spanish pronunciation, and then we were reading a book that was combination of English and Spanish, and then all of a sudden I had like all these kids around me just listening and participating, and oh, it's just so neat. And later in the week, toward the end of the week, he actually he climbed in a little tree and pulls out a little hummingbird nest and climbs down and shows it to me and climbs back in the tree and puts it back. He's got a little piece of my heart back there in Esperanza. So
I'm glad you I'm glad you brought up that special story. Those are the kinds of things that I always say, you can't make this stuff up. You can't purchase something like this on a family cruise. These are all very authentic and real connections that get made. None of it's fabricated. But I'm also glad that you brought up the library because you all actually had a team member who wasn't able to come, and you allowed one of our favorite changers, John Hydrich, also veterinarian, to come on the trip with you. And John has been helping with libraries through BTCV and an organization he works with in New Mexico for years. But he has helped distribute thousands of books across the globe, literally. And so the opportunity for him to come with you guys, and you generously sponsored his trip, but he brought a couple hundred library books with him as well.
yeah.
Was able to seed a new collection of books at the school. Talk to us a bit about working with the library before we dig into the shoveling. We'll talk about the shoveling, I promise. But talk to us a bit about, the library.
I know ahead of time that was quite the buzz. I mean, we had at least 3, I'm going to say 4 people that just come straight to mind that were extremely excited about participating with the library establishment and any kind of training with the teachers and what have you. The realtor that Chuck mentioned, Stephanie, apparently had been a librarian in one of her past lives, and so she was excited about it. But she was also an incredibly hard worker in the other areas. Our lifelong friends, Danette and Dorielle. Uh, Danette is a speech pathologist, and her sister Dorielle is a pediatric physician assistant or associate now. This is the name changed. But the two of them both are one very fluent, one moderately fluent in Spanish. They're both half Honduran bloodlines, if you know, American, but and very, very connected with these kids and with the teachers, etc. And then our sister-in-law, my brother's wife, is an early childhood development specialist who had to quit her faculty job at the university with some health issues about, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. And to watch her in action was, you know, brought tears to my eyes, honestly. And you could just see the passion there. And it was so amazing to watch all of them and John connecting with Dolly and all the teachers and then the kids. Just oh my gosh, the interactions. And you could just see immediate impact, immediate with all age levels of these kids. Absolutely amazing to watch. Oh, and then Kelly, our sister-in-law, there was one young man who is the son of the mayor of the city. He's 32 years old and he has a fairly significant developmental delay and had never learned to write his name. And she taught him to write his name. And it was really amazing to watch that connection. And he took the paper back to his mom and and dad and to show them how he did that. And I think it made a change for them, which was neat.
I love those stories. Those are really the heart of BTCV. It's not just brick and mortar. It's just those things that happen organically on a trip, those relationships that happen, and those service opportunities that happen. So you and your volunteer team were very hands-on. All the BTCV teams are. Every project that BTCV does for construction, we hire a local professional contractor. In this case, it's an engineer named Bruno that we've worked with for a very long time. But also the local community participates in the work as well with the volunteer teams. So this trip was not all dancing. There was some shoveling and work. I know, I've seen the video. So share with us about the kind of work that you did on the project in service with the other volunteers.
Yeah, I'll take that one. That first night, Dolly, that we arrived, all the welcomes and whatnot. And then I remember one thing she said, very good. And tomorrow you will begin to work and you will work really hard. And I said, "Oh, okay." And she was right. It's great, fulfilling work, but you do work. It's very physical for those people who want to do that part. And if you don't want to, that's fine. But it's great to really have some manual labor. There are very few modern tools there. If we're going to cut a 2x8 or 12 piece of board, it's going to be with a saw and maybe multiple people on that saw doing it. If we're going to put together a truss, there's not screw guns and self-tapping screws. It is nails and hammers, and you're going to put it together the old-fashioned way, which was very, very rewarding. And what I
And hard
like
work.
and hard, yeah, hard work and rewarding. In one of our things that we did in Esperanza, because of the rain and the need for drainage around the new classroom and some of the older stuff too, is we were digging drain ditches for it. So, couple feet deep by a foot wide by, 20 to 40 yards long. And they would just say, we need one here. And we just get together and we would create these ditches. And it was great camaraderie, teamwork. Everybody pitched in. I mean, the women were amazing. Getting in there and digging all this muck and mud and laughing. We did a lot of moving of cement, sand,
Yeah.
sandbag. How they make their cement with cement bags by hand. And one of our team members, Joe, he kind of created these little, what were those like?
Oh, like it looked like a ladder,
Stretchers,
but
like
like a stretcher to
stretchers
move the bags of cement,
cement.
the 90-pound bags of cement.
Yeah, so two people were able to do that. We were able to move all that in. And then one of the other things that was, I thought, pretty amazing to watch and participate in was the making of the cement, which was kind of one of the last things to do once we put up the roof and the trusses and the roof, all the trenching to be done. Then we had to put in the floor, and I guess the cement mixer, which was at another town, didn't make it, so we had to hand mix our own cement, which is pretty intense uh, proposition to do, where you're putting in the sand and then mixing it with the water, making a big, like a moat, a lake with a volcano in the middle, and mixing it all together and mixing and mixing and mixing and mixing and mixing until all of a sudden it's ready to go. And then everyone picks like a
And it's a fire
brigade
Yeah.
buckets, and
bucket.
everyone's just carrying the buckets in, and then they have their people who know what they're doing with the cement, which is amazing to watch them do their work to create a level, flat floor. But it was just a tremendous experience, working harder than we thought we could work. That's what I heard.
Yep. That's a lot of times that's how I describe it when people ask us what it was like. I said, I've never worked so hard before. I've never sweated so much in my life. And it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't all just like you could be doing that all the time, or you could be doing some other stuff and interacting with the kids and the adults and in all kinds of different ways. So you could take a little break, if you will, mental, physical break.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say that I would add to your list of things to bring is absolutely have people bring those little electrolyte packets,
Yeah.
because we really needed them, and I think we didn't bring any, so we were taking them from other people who were thinking ahead, and I'm very thankful that they had them. The other thing that was kind of neat is slight segue, like the library is we all kind of had noticed one of the classrooms was piled high with broken bicycles
Yeah.
in one half of the classroom. And somebody asked about it. I don't know if it was my brother Tim or another friend Dave. And I think Dolly had said, yeah, and sort of explained that these bikes were given to them by the government, but they had broken, and it's how some of the kids get during the dry season, how they get to school. But when they break, they have no way to fix them. So Tim and Dave spent a full morning. Dave somehow, I think, must have brought a bunch of Allen wrenches, and then they found a broken bike pump, and Dave spent a few hours trying to figure out how to put it back together, which was quite a thing. I think it was in like 7 or 8 pieces.
Wow.
And the two of them fixed one by one by one.
Yeah, 20 to 30 bikes.
Yeah. And so that was the day I was reading to the kids, and I'm sitting there, and every 5 minutes, a new bike would come riding into the classroom. The kids were basically, they would take a bike that had just gotten fixed, ride around the area, and then ride the bike into the next classroom over and park it, and then go back. And I didn't really know that was what was happening, but it was so fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were just having a great time, and they made a big difference. These bikes are now functional. They worked with some of the local villagers so they knew how to fix them in the future, which was pretty cool. So just a little sideline thing that happened organically.
Spontaneously.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Allen wrenches are not on the packing list. So
Right. There you go.
I call that a Jesus wink. That was very fortunate for him to have those. And I've fixed a bicycle. I've never fixed a bicycle pump. So you should put MacGyver on your team list.
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. Oh man. So I did get to see those photos. I love that you're sharing these extras with everybody, because it really just expands on, people think I'm going to put up 4 walls and a roof, and there's so much more to this than 4 walls and a roof. We always talk about no teachers, no school, and how it's important for us to figure out how we can serve the teachers and make the teachers want to be there. But you guys are talking about all these extra things around the project that bring so much to it, interacting with the community. The bicycles are part of access. We talk about access to education. How are the kids going to get to school? What's preventing the kids from getting to school on time so they get the full school day? So, what a great story. So, you guys have had a full week of service. You're probably pretty exhausted. At the end of the week, you get to have a grand, what we call a celebration of education. Just tell us about the celebration you had in Esperanza Village at the end of the week.
It was a community, same thing. It was a community event over just across the field from where we were doing the classroom, so we could look at the classroom and the some of the individuals, the ladies of the community were making fresh fish, full fish
It was amazing.
on wood and coals,
Yeah.
and people were bringing their versions of salads and fruits and some vegetables all in for a community meal. And they fed us a really nice meal. Uh, and then we watched or listened to a number of speeches given by the locals, the community leaders in Spanish. So again, a couple of people were fluent in Spanish in our group, and they could help us out a little bit, telling us what was going on, what was important. But you could see how excited they were
Hmm.
about what was happening to their community.
And Dolly did translate.
And Dolly
over the
did translate as well, which was great. And then we had the dancing again, and they did dances, the different classes, the young little kids from
Oh my goodness.
kindergartners, which were so cute, and then
Yeah.
the rulers, and then the next level up,
The
and
gymnastics.
the gymnastics that they were doing, and yeah, it was just it was a great way. It was a great ending because it just, they got to express their thanks to us,
Mhm.
which was wonderful.
And really include us. At the
Yeah.
beginning, you didn't know, even when they came to ask us to dance, we felt, I don't know, new to the village, obviously. By the end, we felt very much like they were, yes, we are a part of this. And it was really amazing. And boy, can they dance
Mhm.
for a long time. It was tiring.
Yeah, just be ready to dance.
Right,
Then we
right.
got up and we danced and listened to their music and
Mhm.
their house band, so to speak.
Right, right.
Peace little band was playing and while they were dancing. So it was an event of appreciation,
Really
which was
cool.
really nice.
The one other thing I would mention is, by and large, given our age, we invited, whether it's family or friends, people generally were within 10, 15 years of our age range. And then we ended up having, our nephew came, he was 20, and this daughter of somebody Chuck knew through surgical consulting, and his daughter is 31. And they were such a joy to have along, and God bless them for putting up with us
Mhm.
older folks. Kian, our nephew, one, he worked his tail off, but he also just played so hard with the kids, and they immediately just
Yeah, bonded.
adopted him, and he's, playing soccer with them, and he's helping hoist them to reach the monkey bars and things like that. And it was just really cool. And then Kelly, the young woman who joined us, just an absolute breath of fresh air, just so fun to have another young person. And and I mean, everybody on this trip, they worked so hard, and it was just fun to connect with everybody. It
Yeah.
was really amazing.
Yeah, the diversity of a BTCV team is typically very unpredictable for us, but I do love to see just what you're talking about. We're able to see the trip through a lot of different lenses and perspectives because of that. But when you have younger people, we can look and see it through the lens of a young person. We can look and see it through the lens of a wiser person. And so that's just awesome. Micki, I really appreciate you giving us the extra stories in here. Now you guys have finished the trip and you're home. Talk to me about what impact the experience has had on you personally and the vision of your foundation moving forward. Maybe on some of the relationships that have been strengthened by the trip with your friends and family who travel with you. But what's it like being home now after this experience? What does it mean for the future?
One of the things we did when we were there is Jimmy, Christy, Mickey, and I, and Dolly, we met with their community leaders there. Carlos, the parent teacher PTA
representative.
president, representative about what we
And the
could do
mayor.
in the future there. And one of the things that I think we both talked about and felt, and the group too, was, we wanted to do more. Bottom line, we just need to do more for them. So we're helping, hopefully put on a new roof for the old classrooms, which were leaking. And then we kind of came up with a list of things, needs that they would like to see, and it's all about educating their youth. It was nothing about them and making, it was just very honest about what they needed for their little kids to, hopefully grow up in a more educated way and have the opportunity. So that's probably the biggest impact for me, is just saying like, wow, this is something we can really make a change. And so in our foundation, how it impacts it is that we really want to make as big an impact we can with the dollars that we have and the organization. So we try to focus on smaller organizations. CTV is, not huge, as you say, but
Yeah,
they
we're
have huge
small.
impact, so they have huge impact. So that's where we want to put our energies and our money. So we're looking forward to hopefully doing this again next year. We're in the beginning phases of talking with y'all about how we can make that happen. And so that for me personally, I hear the stories of El Chino and a 10-year project, and we got to visit that. It was amazing, the work that was done, and just hearing the stories of all the things that happened there. But it was a 10-year project. I would like to see us be able to have an impact and like have that time if we can, just because these kids, they got one shot at it, and 10 years is a long, long time. So that's been the biggest thing for me. We've been very busy. We haven't had time really even to decompress. It's almost
Yeah.
a month, but we've just been so busy, and have barely even been able to talk to most of our family and friends, except for we were at our big reunion. But it's just been an overwhelming sense of appreciation from the people who were there, family and friends, and how impactful the experience was to them. We keep hearing it over and over and over again when we do get to touch base with them.
And I think for me, I agree with all the things that he said. It really, really struck me though how much we can do here at home, and you don't have to. Doesn't negate going to Peru or wherever to help, but what it's made me sort of redouble my efforts to connect here in places that we might be able to make some impact locally, and whether it's a local animal sanctuary that does a lot of children's classes, which is something I've recently connected with, to even just the homeless population. And I have this little brainchild of trying to create some sort of outreach veterinary thing, but I keep getting overwhelmed with how daunting that is. But it's been in the back of my mind for a few years, and so we'll see. I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to do that, or if that's way bigger than something we can accomplish. But it's there, and but just even trying to make a local little difference, every day, or every week or whatever.
That is a great impact story. And Micki, I love that the experience has only made you and your heart want to do more for the world around you, here, near, far, locally, in Peru. That is awesome. Y'all, your generosity and boldness, willingness to say yes with your time, talent, and treasure is just inspiring. And as you guys know, the word Esperanza translates to the word hope in English. So Esperanza is the village of hope. And at BTCV, we are so grateful that you chose to hand deliver hope in Esperanza with us. So Chuck and Micki, thank you for sharing your story with us today on Change Your Chats.
You're very welcome.
Thanks, Grant.
Say hi to Jimmy and Christy for us.
We certainly will. To our listeners, if today's conversation sparks something in you, whether it's the idea of giving, serving, or simply saying yes to the next opportunity to help others, we hope you'll take that next step. Learn more at www.btcv.us. Thank you for listening, and as always, let's go be the change.